Ambazonians, this is one of the, in fact, this is the best political debate in Ambazonia right now that helps policy think makers in Ambazonia as we prosecute the war or advises them on their diplomacy. Whichever, we would have learned a thing and we would have made a determination on how to play our cards, either as independent voters or as a government or as a community. So we get to something that we conclude our discussion of today. It has been an amazing conversation. We'll definitely be talking now about the lockdown. According to the interior or the government of Ambazonia, this lockdown was a strategy to they wanted to use the lockdown to make a statement, and the lockdown, it had an initial date that was modified into a new date. The modification is what has been actualized until today, and we really would like to process it. If you're looking at some of the images that are coming down, coming from the field, that is Ambazonia. All the marketplaces were locked down. It was a symbol of the fact that Ambazonia it cannot is not controlled by La République du Cameroon. The president said something a few months ago. He says when there is a law in La République du Cameroon and there is a law in Ambazonia, then Ambazonia is winning. He said if there is lockdown on Monday in Ambazonia and businesses are moving smoothly in La République du Cameroon, then you cannot say that Ambazonia is not winning. These 7 days, or I would say 8 days into the national lockdown, is one of those victories, I would say, without so much effort. Some of those victories that we attain without pointing a gun on the head of anyone, without using a lot of resources, but just advocating and persuading the commitment of the people in Ambazonia. This has been a victory, and we will definitely be getting into a serious conversation with all those who are here. I will begin, first of all, by giving the mic to Commander Elvis to talk to us. Generally, would you say today, that is just 2 days away from the date that your department is hoping to officially, actually there's a statement or a flyer that has just been sent out that the official date ends on Monday. So Monday is the last day, and our people are expected to resume their activities and not as normal. Would you say that this was a tremendous success? And what is the rationale for you people hoping to end it on Monday? Commander Evis, talk to us.
Oh, thank you, Commander Freddie, for this great outing today. I want to start by commending our great statement, Barrister Ghana, Barrister Mbesser, and Barrister Fu. I really appreciate the discussions you had this evening. I was following all along, and I really appreciate your wisdom. It is an opportunity that I hope Amazonians will not miss to be able to tap into this program and share your wisdom. Very supportive. Thank you again for that question with regards to the lockdown. It is definitely a success story for Ambazonia because the aim for which we had this lockdown, as initially proclaimed, was to send a clear message to the UN General Assembly that was holding that Ambazonia is a territory that is under our control. We've sent that message. It's very resounding. We want to also start by congratulating all our Ambazonian State Army and all the civilians in Ambazonia from all 13 counties and 61 LGAs for their solidarity, standing tall with the structures that be. As you all know, it's all about building these strong institutions that are able to respond when called to order. And once again, we can see that our institutions are strong. We continue to ask Ambazonians to rally behind these strong institutions. Let us fortify them and let us make them such that they can even be more effective. We do understand that at the initial stage of the lockdown, there was some, I could say, information that was not clearly articulated to the civilian population. But as we did come online and explain to the people, the initial lockdown did had to be adjusted after we had received credible intelligence that La Republic military had also adjusted some of their mayhem that they intended to cause. We did see an example in Mezam County where almost 50 civilians were arrested and forced each to pay a fine of about 50,000 francs before their release. I haven't said 50, that's a small number. I think about 300 of them. So those were some of the circumstances which we aim to achieve. And also not forgetting the fact that La Republique military had been reported hiding in some of those schools that intended to, uh, start off. We did not want our civilian population to be in any danger. And for that reason, we had to adjust the dates accordingly. Again, those were just some of the operational security measures we had to take preserve the life and sanctity of our people. So we want to thank the Amazonia people for this. I think this is number 7 day of the 8th day of the lockdown. We have 2 more days to go. Saturday, today, Sunday, and Monday midnight, the lockdown would be officially over. We are calling on our people to persevere. We did ask them to buy and stock enough food. In certain localities, we understand that our Amazonian State Army did reach out to us, complaining that there were some circumstances where they had to allow the civilian population uh, to restock again today because of the misunderstanding that some had had. And being on their side, they had to give them that leverage. That doesn't mean that that cancels the official lockdown as of today until the 16th, which is Monday night. So again, our gratitude to the Ambazonia people for joining their structures in sending this clear, resounding message to United. Great. So I had. Hello, can you hear me? And we're just so grateful for the Ambazonian people for coming together as one so we can send this clear and resounding message. Thank you,
Thank
Praddy,
you.
and over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much for that. That was the kind of overview that I would love to hear. And I'm coming to you very quickly, Barrister Ghana, as you would be concluding with this statement. Now, the objective of the ANSC, in collaboration with federal government and other stakeholders on the ground, was to send a statement. You are all politicians, diplomats. You know what certain actions would mean. So talk to us. What does this mean? At the time Philemon Young is playing Wayo, at the time when you have confirmed that Philemon Young has been sent as a puppet to fulfill an agenda, we've all agreed on that. At the time when Cameroon wants to tell the world that normalcy is returning, we have the entire nation of Ambazonia locked down. What does this signify? And what are some of the buttons that this can actually press? Talk to us, Vice Ghana.
Comrade Paddy and my senior colleagues, again, it's been a great show. Commander Elvis, we appreciate what you're doing very much. We appreciate what the Ambazonian State Army is doing. We appreciate all those who are making sacrifices in their time in confronting the enemy in our territory, in our land, in our state. We appreciate what every Ambazonian globally is doing, contributing, drafting, ensuring that we can fund the defense of our people, that we can fund our offensive actions against the enemy in our territory to ensure that our people are protected. Like you said, Philemon Yang has been sent to the UN not as an Ambazonian, but as an as somebody from LRC with the consent of France to represent LRC there as a ceremonial president of the UN. Philemon Yang represents a pedigree of Ambazonians who are entrenched in French Cameroon, who see themselves as French Cameroonians until they lose power, until things go against them, and then they return to being Ambazonians. What might be happening in the UN does not in any way, shape, or form deprive our right to statehood. It in no way, shape, or form dilutes UN Resolution 1608X3. In no way, shape, or form dilutes UN Resolution 1514X3. There were nations that were in our position in the past. There was the nation of Namibia, whose situation equivocates directly to the situation of Ambazonia. But today, Namibia is seated as a full-fledged member of the United States, of the United Nations General Assembly. That will be Ambazonia's case. That will be Ambazonia's outcome. As you listen to that interview, which Comrade Paddy, which you were playing with President Sako, where he emphatically talked about the Ambazonian spirit to resist, being a spirit that you cannot conquer in any way, shape, or form. He said some very emphatic things. Sako said, every wave of resistance is stronger than the previous waves. He looks back at when people like Abendon opposed what was happening to the Southern Cameroons during our independence. And that wave was not as strong as when people like Albert Mukong later on were putting defiance against what was happening to our people. And then people like Albert Mukong were arrested and locked up. And he even wrote Prisoner Without a Crime. And then came the era of Frundi, where our people banded, again, initiated by somebody like Albert Mukong to form the SDF, aimed at defining or defending the rights of the people of the Southern Cameroons, which some people took and ran with it and tried to govern the whole of Cameroon. It didn't work. But the wave that came after that was the wave of when the teachers and the workers banded together in a union to oppose what was happening when French teachers were being sent to teach in our schools, when French magistrates trained in civil law were being sent to govern our courts that were based on common law. That wave has morphed into the armed struggle, an armed struggle that will not die. When Sako said every wave becomes stronger than the previous waves, he was echoing what happened in South Africa when people like Governor Mbeki and a lot of the founding fathers of the ANC in 1912 banded the ANC to peacefully protest against what was happening to blacks in South Africa. And they didn't listen. And in the 50s, people like Nelson Mandela got in and formed the armed struggle of Nkonto Wezizwe that fought against the South African government, just like what is happening in Ambazonia, where Ambazonians took up arms in 2017 and started to fight against this war that was declared by Paul Biya against our people in November of 2017. And this war is not going to die until our people are free, irrespective of what is happening in the UN General Assembly. The time will come, and that time is not too long from now, when that strength of our struggle, when that punch of Ambazonia's fight is going to overcome the enemy and free our people. It's going to happen. So if you are listening to this show, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in China, from whatever corner of the globe, do not relent, because our plight is right. because our force for justice will not be relegated to the back until Ambazonia is free, until the freedom song is sung in Ambazonia. So as we look forward to the celebration of October 1st, which is our true date of independence, we call on every Ambazonian who did not contribute towards the draft to step up and make your contribution. Because as Commander Elvis said, it takes the force of our actions to be able to enforce things like the lockdown against the Cameroon army. So let's not relent. Let's raise that fist of justice and continue to fight. For our day of independence is not too far. Thank you again, Comrade Paddy, for hosting this show. For our day of independence indeed is nearer because people like you stand up, because people like Commander Elvis stand up, because people like all our members of the Ambazonian State Army on the ground are sacrificing life and limb to remind all Arisi, to remind the world that the plight of Ambazonia is one that needs to be attended for, and freedom, freedom, freedom will be our last song. Thank you again for this brilliant afternoon.
That was quite remarkable. Coming to you, Barrister Fru, very quickly, and I'd like you to also lend your voice on this issue. When Cameroon is trying to sell the agenda that this is an internal affair, they can contain it, they can manage it, and that normalcy is returning. But Amazonia, via the wisdom help of their government, has been able to lock down the entire national territory for at least a week. This is quite remarkable.
Thank,
So, what impact will this create as world leaders group themselves together to talk about issues in the world? Talk to us, Barrister Fru.
thank you, Paddy. I must say, since we have been locking down Ambazonia, this is the most successful lockdown that we have seen in recent history. All of Ambazonia from Victoria to Nkambe was locked down completely. And if you saw Victoria, you just saw the pictures showing Mutengene, showing Boya. Everywhere it was total blackout, total lockdown. And that message went. People in the United Nations, those attending the General Assembly, if some of them watch this, I hope that they watch these images. It's a message that has gone. And what will be interesting, Paddy, will be the speech of the Cameroon government at the United Nations this year. If I'm going to be listening very carefully to what they say, whether they will continue to tell the lies that they have been saying that normalcy has returned to Ambazonia. We will be watching. And it also shows that our government, the government of the Southern Cameroon Ambazonia, is in total control of its territory. This government may be in exile, but is very effective through its population. The population respects the laws of this government given out to them to carry out actions like this one. You see, the whole Amazonia was locked down for a whole week, and nobody. Look at the streets, empty streets. This is the best lockdown I have seen in my since we started this revolution. And I want to congratulate the population of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, the Southern Cameroon Ambazonia, that executed this action to the letter. And I'd like to thank the ANSC and the federal government for standing strong and passing this message to the world, including the United States, including France, including Great Britain, the UK. They have seen that we are in control of our land. And what else is left? What else is left? The United Nations is not a friend to the Southern Cameroons. There is an international conspiracy against us. But, like the president was saying, nobody can condemn us. Nobody can condemn us for the actions we are taking on the ground. We send a message without a single bullet being fired, and it is over to the United Nations to think, to reevaluate, to think about what they are doing to us, what they are doing to the African people, what they are doing to the whole continent of Africa, where the whole world is exploiting, and yet we are at the receiving end of what we have, which is our own. The United Nations must rethink its stand. Otherwise, the United Nations is not is not is not important to the lives of every African. Africans will have to rethink their allegiance to the United Nations if they continue this way. That message has gone, Paddy, and I want to congratulate our people, and they are listening. They know that they have done the work that they were supposed to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Stambesa. You've heard everyone say it, and you are almost at the end to say something in this regard. You something Mr. Ghana said, which I want to re-echo, is saying that if we have to do anything to ensure that foreign U.S. foreign policy is not tempered with, then we must increase resistance. This is part of a resistance that has proven, contrary to the message Cameroon wants to say, that the people of Ambazonia are in a firm collaboration with the genuine state army or the Ambazonian fighters, to simplify understanding, that the people of Ambazonia are willing to work with their government and to ensure that their nation is free. That no matter no amount of intimidation by the colonial administration will stop our people from giving or from making this tremendous sacrifice or sacrifices that they do make every Monday, every time of the year that we come calling by telling them, hey, we have a strategy. And one thing you have to do for us is just to stay home. And these people stay home without complaining. They are some of them are excited to just stay home to see that the nation is prosecuting their agenda. What I want you to really emphasize on is the significance of this collective action or move by the people on the ground, the state army, and the diasporic community. Barrister Messiah.
Thank you once more, Paddy. I think, as far as the lockdown is concerned, I think the right message was sent. All stakeholders who have ears to hear and who have eyes to see saw it. Only dishonest people who say they did not see. They saw. What did they see? What message did they carry from it? They carried out Ambazonia, as Tassan said, is not under the control of the Republic of Cameroon. But that's not the most important. That one is now history. The lockdowns in 72 hours will become history. What shall happen after the lockdown from the 17 going down? For us to answer that question, you must look at because until you look at what the enemy says, what your opponent says, you will not know how to address the issue. We have sold this thing as trying to give out a message to the world that we're in control. But Yaoundé did not say the lockdown like that. They saw the lockdown as an attempt to prevent children from going to school. That's their own narrative. That's their own narrative. And so we, as the government of Ambazonia, we did not sell it as an attempt to close down schools. And so if we let this thing pass after 72 hours, what was our position? Our position was that the whole ground zero, the home front, the school, the environment is not school friendly, and that parents must decide what to do on how to send their children to school. That was a public position. So this is just rhetoric for our people, the defense and the security people to take note. If on the 17th, because the lockdown has ended, all school doors are open, everybody is flooding to school, that people would have achieved its aim. They go around the whole world and say, well, everything is over. Everybody is back to school. Normalcy has returned. That will be their narrative. And it will be difficult for us to challenge. So it is the responsibility of our security people and the defense to work out a plan between now and 2007 and the date 17th, which is supposed to end, to make sure that the ground is hot enough to tell children that to tell parents that it's not time for you to send your children to school massively, because we are still right in our policy to say it is unsafe for your children to go to school. Because the Republic is not interested. When you say go to school, they are not interested in you receiving education. They are not talk less of the quality. No, that's not their interest. Their interest is normalcy. Even if you are going to sit under the branches of a tree, they will take a picture and say, well, school has resumed. Therefore, normalcy has returned. So as a rhetoric, well, I want to advise just Church of Security, in partnership with what Pastor Kana has said, so let the ground be hotter than ever before, so that this end of the lockdown should not be an opening for them to massively rush to school. Because remember, our other groups, opponents in this struggle, have built it officially for them. Schools must resume on the 17th. That's their own narrative. But we being the government of Ambazonia, we say no, we don't have a date because the environment is still very, very hostile.
Yeah.
If it means contributing more, we must contribute more to make the ground hotter than it was ever before. For any reasonable person, man or woman, to feel so unsafe to voluntarily send his or her child to school. That's the take home. Because if we don't do this, we fall into the trap of Yawande, who will flood the streets. They have all these advantages. They have diplomatic representation. They want to say, well, everything has returned to normal. See, children are going to school. They will take pictures. They will take videos. They will have their people make messages. And so we must prevent that from happening. That is not for you and me, Paddy, Mr. So, Mr. Ghana to do. The security people have to work out that strategy. If it means
They know what to do.
yeah, if it means if they need our help in advice, we would, but not on this forum. But that is the strategy. Because unless you think or understand what the thinks about the lockdown, we shall not be able to confront them adequately. That said, I think we have
Amazing.
largely succeeded. If it means if it was money that we contributed, I would urge that we contribute more to make things worse than they were before the lockdown.
At the turn
Over
of the
to you.
century, the U.S. Air Force